The ocean doesn't like to give up its secrets. Down in the crushing dark, where sunlight is just a memory, history lies waiting. This is the world of the salvage diver, a realm of incredible beauty and imminent danger, and something can always go wrong. This story began with a faded map and the ramblings of an old fisherman. He spoke of a steel shark that vanished off the coast decades ago during the war. For me and my team, legends are history waiting to be proven. Our team is a hand-picked group of specialists. There's Marco, our sonar genius, a man who can read the ocean floor like a book. There's Anya, our historian and archivist, who spent months digging through declassified naval records from 3 different countries. For days, Marco guided our vessel, the Odyssey, back and forth across a grid of cold, choppy Atlantic waters. The side-scan sonar sent out its rhythmic pulse, painting a picture of the seabed below. We saw rock formations, sandy plains, and the occasional modern piece of debris. The legends of the Wolfpacks loomed large in our minds. These U-boat groups were the terror of the seas. The men aboard these submarines lived in cramped, suffocating conditions for months at a time. To find their vessel would be to find a direct link to that brutal reality. But then, just as morale was hitting a low point, Marco called out from his station. "I've got something," he said. "It's big, it's the right shape, and it shouldn't be here." The hunt was over. The discovery was about to begin. The image on Marco's screen was unmistakable. It was a long, slender shape, perfectly symmetrical and unnaturally straight. It was a submarine. The dimensions were a near-perfect match for a Type IRC U-boat. The sonar return was so clear we could make out the conning tower, the deck gun, and the telltale shape of the hull. A collective gasp went through the bridge. The ghost of the Atlantic was real, and it was waiting for us 250 feet below. A sense of hushed reverence fell over the crew. We weren't just looking at a wreck, we were looking at a tomb. The submersible ROV, our remote-controlled eyes, was the first to make the journey down. We watched on the monitors as the little robot descended through the blue, which slowly faded to a deep, inky black. And then, it appeared. The wreck materialized out of the gloom, far more imposing and haunting than the sonar image could ever convey. The outer hull was remarkably intact. There were no obvious signs of catastrophic damage from a torpedo or depth charge, but the most chilling sight was the main hatch on the command tower. It was slightly ajar. The open hatch was an invitation. It was a dark, gaping maw that dared us to come closer and learn the truth of what happened in the final moments of U-1138. The decision to send in a dive team was not made lightly. Entering an enclosed wreck, especially a military one, is one of the most dangerous things a diver can do. Entanglement, silt-out, structural collapse. We would go in pairs, connected by a guideline to the surface, no exceptions. My dive partner Liam and I were the first to go. As we descended along the anchor line, the pressure mounted. The wreck of U-1138 grew larger and larger until it filled our entire field of vision. It was one thing to see it on a screen, but to float alongside it was humbling. The sheer scale of it was intimidating. We swam toward the conning tower, our powerful dive lights cutting through the perpetual twilight. We reached the open hatch. It was a dark, forbidding hole. Peering inside, our lights could only penetrate a few feet into the oppressive blackness. This was the point of no return. Once we passed through that opening, we would be inside the belly of the beast. With a deep breath, I pulled myself through the narrow opening and into the flooded command center of the Nazi submarine. The moment I was inside, the feeling changed. The vastness of the ocean was gone, replaced by a crushing sense of claustrophobia. We were in the U-boat's nerve center. Levers, gauges, wheels, coated in a thick layer of silt covering every surface. Liam pointed his light toward the captain's small, partitioned-off area. As we drifted closer, something glinted in the beam of my torch. I reached down carefully, my gloved fingers brushing away the silt. It was a small, silver picture frame, its glass miraculously intact. Inside was a black-and-white photograph. It was a picture of a woman, a young child, smiling. This was the U-boat commander's family. Suddenly, this mission felt intensely personal. But that wasn't the most surprising discovery. Tucked behind the photograph, sealed against the backing, was a folded piece of oilskin paper. It was a letter. Back on the Odyssey, after a painstaking process of preservation and drying, Anya was able to translate the German script. It wasn't an official report. It was a personal letter from the captain, written to his wife. It spoke of his disillusionment with the war, his disgust with the Nazi regime's ideology, and his plan to scuttle the submarine and seek asylum in a neutral country. He wrote that he and a few trusted officers were going to sink their own boat and try to escape. This changed everything. The U-boat wasn't sunk by Allied forces, it was deliberately scuttled by its own commander. This wasn't an act of war, it was an act of rebellion. The open hatch suddenly made sense. Moving deeper into the submarine was like traveling back in time. We pushed past the control room into the narrow corridor that led toward the crew's quarters. The space was incredibly tight. Bunks were folded against the walls and personal effects were scattered everywhere, frozen in the exact positions they were in when the sea rushed in. In one of the bunks, I found a book, its pages swollen and illegible, but its cover still showing the title, a collection of poetry by Schiller. A small, humanizing detail in a place of war. As we navigated the cramped passageway, my light caught something unusual tucked into a storage nook above a bunk. It wasn't military equipment, it was a wooden case, covered in barnacles but still recognizable. I carefully worked it free from its resting place. It was heavy. With Liam providing light, I managed to open the corroded latches. Inside, nestled in what was once velvet lining, was a pristine accordion. It was in remarkably good condition, protected by its sturdy case from the worst of the water's effects. An instrument of music and celebration in a steel coffin designed for killing. The presence of the accordion spoke volumes about life on board. These sailors were young men, far from home, living under unimaginable stress. Music must have been a vital escape, a way to maintain a sliver of humanity in the dehumanizing environment of submarine warfare. You can almost imagine them packed into this claustrophobic tube, playing sea shanties or folk songs from home. It was a sound of life, a sound of culture, now resting in total silence. This instrument was a testament to their need for connection and joy, even as they served a regime of hatred. This discovery added another layer to the captain's story of mutiny. It represented a world beyond the war, a world of pubs and dance halls and family gatherings, a world they were fighting for in their own way by trying to escape the conflict altogether. Our most significant find was yet to come. In the radio room, a tiny compartment packed with electronic gear, we found what we were looking for, the Enigma machine. This was the legendary cipher device used by the German military to send encrypted messages. Cracking the Enigma code was one of the Allies' greatest intellectual achievements of the war, giving them a crucial edge. Finding an Enigma machine is the holy grail for any World War II wreck diver. This one was sitting on its small desk as if the radio operator had just stepped away for a moment. The machine itself was an incredible find, but what was inside it was even more important. Protected within the device's internal mechanism, Anya later found the code wheels set to their final positions. And even more astonishingly, the radio operator's logbook was still in its waterproof pouch nearby. The last few entries were chilling. The final, partially written message being transcribed was not a standard battle report. It was a coded message, but not in the official Kriegsmarine cipher. The captain was using a modified code, one he must have pre-arranged, likely to communicate his intentions to contacts on the outside. This was the smoking gun. The logbook, combined with the letter, painted a clear picture of the submarine's last hours. The captain and his co-conspirators were planning to sink their U-boat and use a small inflatable raft to make for the coast of a neutral country, likely Spain or Portugal. The final message was probably meant to alert someone on shore that they were on their way, but something went wrong. The logbook ends abruptly. There's no sign-off, no completed transmission, just a frantic scrawl. Perhaps the scuttling charges went off too soon, or a loyalist member of the crew discovered the plan and tried to stop them. The Enigma machine, a tool of Nazi secrecy, was being used to orchestrate an act of treason against them. It's the ultimate irony. Ascending from the wreck felt like returning to life from a world of ghosts. As we surfaced, bright sunlight, the fresh air were a shocking contrast to the cold, dark silence below. The weight of what we had seen and discovered settled upon us. We hadn't just found a submarine, we had uncovered a lost story of defiance. Pieces of metal, paper, these artifacts were the final testimonies of the men of U-1138. The emotional impact of a dive like this is hard to shake. You feel a strange connection to the crew. You've been in their space, touched their belongings, pieced together the puzzle of their final hours. The captain, his fellow mutineers, failed in their escape, but their story of courage deserved to be told. They chose to stand against a monstrous regime and they paid the ultimate price for it. The discovery of U-1138 has real historical significance. It provides concrete evidence of organized dissent within the Kriegsmarine, a topic historians have long debated but had little proof of. This wreck challenges the myth of the U-boat force as a monolithic entity of unwavering fanatics. History is messy, complicated, and intensely human. Ultimately, this is why we do what we do. We dive into the dark, we brave the dangers, and we chase the whispers of the past. We do it to find these stories. The ocean holds countless more secrets like this one, countless more voices waiting to be heard. The men of U-1138 tried to send one last message to the world, a message that was cut short 80 years ago. In a way, by finding their submarine and uncovering their story, we have finally completed that transmission for them. Their voices, silent for so long, have finally risen from the abyss.